obviously, again, when you freelance, there's a lot of, you don't get holiday pay, you don't get sick pay, your taxes you'll have to pay yourself. So there's a lot of things.
When you're working for someone else, it's like you're helping them pursue their own dreams.
Yes.
And then the salary they give is like the price to pay for you to forget your own dreams.
Exactly. I'm living in a city that has really good connections, public transport anyway. I'm rarely going to use my car. So honestly, getting rid of that was just, it saved me so much money every month that I was then like, oh wow.
You don't have those guardrails anymore. You have to do things for yourself. And I find that motivating yourself to do things that no one is holding you accountable for seems to be the hardest part.
One thing I love about Asia is the people there are so happy and so friendly, but they're just happy with what they've got. Like they're not like constantly striving for more, like trying to impress other people. Like they're just happy with what they've got. And
hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Emmy Toronto podcast. And on today's episode, I have a lovely guest with me, Laura. And before I go further to introduce her, I just want to say a big thank you to all of you who have followed us on Instagram. We recently hit 1K followers, so it's a bit of a celebratory mood here for us today. The only thing I want to add to that is please, if you're already following us on Instagram, we have a YouTube channel where you can watch all of our full content. Yes, what you get on Instagram is just a snippet of what we've actually shot. So please follow us on YouTube and subscribe. Thank you. And now let's get into the main video. So Laura actually came in from the UK.
I did. Yeah.
Just for this episode. Okay, that's a joke, but it's so good to have you here. We spoke online a bit already, but we're just going to delve into a lot of topics today. So just a brief intro on who Laura is. She's a business startup strategist. So basically she knows how to take your business from your idea to actually having it as a solid business. So she was a freelancer that turned into a business strategist, and she runs her own business also. So she has over 10 years of work experience, and I'll just allow Laura to speak a bit on that just so that you guys can get an idea of what we're going to be talking about in this episode.
Yeah. So over my career, I've worked a lot in like small to medium sized businesses, which is kind of then where I built the foundation of the business that I now run. So I would help them either like implement better strategies so that they were spending less time on like menial tasks, and obviously AI, the emergence of AI has now helped that even more. And then now I also help people who want to freelance. So maybe they don't know where to start, or they've got a business idea and they just don't even know how to get it off the ground. Or maybe they've got like a very limited budget. So I now offer consulting services to help those people get started as well.
So what would that look like? Like, let's say I come in and I want to start freelancing as a software developer, maybe, or okay, maybe that's even too far. Maybe I have some blue collar skills, like maybe I want to be a plumber. Like, what would that look like for me if I want to start being a freelancer or even start a business around that?
Yeah, so what I would do, because it's consulting, I can either do it in person or we can meet online. And the first session would essentially be like getting to know you, your skills, and also what you enjoy, because I just think freelancing can be so tough and you have to be your own boss and you have to motivate yourself. So trying to freelance in something that you don't enjoy and you get no passion and reward out of is not a recipe for success. So that's like the first thing is, what are you good at? Where are your skills? But also what do you love and what do you enjoy, and what will motivate you to get out of bed in the morning and go and do it, because you haven't got a boss making you go and do that. You know, you are in charge of earning your own income and making sure that you show up. So yeah, the first session would be just like a brainstorming session, fleshing it out, figuring out what you can offer, how you would price that sort of thing. Because obviously, again, when you freelance, there's a lot of, you don't get holiday pay, you don't get sick pay, your taxes you'll have to pay yourself. So there's a lot of things. It's not just a case of setting an hourly rate. You need to make sure that, like, if you do want to take 4 weeks holiday, you could afford to do that and not get paid while you're taking that time off. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting because like I find that for things where it's not structured in a sense, like so if you think about most people go through their life from primary school, secondary school to tertiary education and they have everything structured for them. But once you get out, you find that you don't have those guardrails anymore. You have to do things for yourself.
Yeah.
And I find that motivating yourself to do things that no one is holding you accountable for seems to be the hardest part of things. And then I was just even thinking about it. You were mentioning doing your own taxes and all of that.
Yeah.
Like,
that's not a fun time of the year.
it's not.
No.
And I mean, doing it for yourself is one thing, but then doing it for a business, I imagine, is something completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think my saving grace throughout being a freelancer and having my own business is finding a good accountant, because not having to worry about like the financial side of your business is such a game changer. And like when I started my company, that was like a non-negotiable for me. I spent so long trying to find a good accountant, because that was like one thing that I'm not a financial person. Like maths and anything like that is not my strong point. So that was like, that is the one thing that I just do not want to have the responsibility of. I want to put it in good hands and know that like they're going to give me the best advice and like make my business the most financially efficient it can be and things like that. When I first started freelancing, the one thing I had to just be so strict on myself was keeping receipts for expenses. Yeah. My first year I was so bad at that, and then when it came to tax time, I basically had to like go back through my bank statements one by one and like figure out what was the business expense. And then also just automatically putting aside money every month to make sure that when it did come to tax time, I wasn't hit with like a huge bill that I didn't have the money put aside for. So yeah.
Oh yeah, so like I'm trying to think about it because I never filed taxes in the UK, but I imagine it's kind of similar to what we do in Canada, where you can get either some tax returns or you might be owing the government some money depending on how things go. Yeah, so that would be an interesting one if you actually don't have some money put aside to cover that. I feel like one thing I forgot to mention when introducing you is that you're a digital nomad.
Oh yeah.
Let me allow you to explain what a digital nomad is so that people can understand what I mean when we're saying that.
Yeah, so a digital nomad is basically someone that works from their laptop but is location independent. So wherever you want to do it, you can work from anywhere essentially. I've always been obsessed with travel, like ever since I was a kid. And when I was, I think about 24, so in like 2017, I went and did like a 6-month backpacking trip. I quit my job, had saved up for 2 years, went and did Southeast Asia and New Zealand. And when I came back, I basically realised, I don't want to not do this, actually. I mean, that trip was very different because I wasn't working at all during that trip. So that was like 6 months of pure freedom. But when I came back, I thought, I don't know, I just don't want to get to my deathbed and think, I wish I'd done these things and like made the most of life. There's nothing worse than, I think, just weeks passing you by because all you're doing is focusing on the 9 to 5 and like, I don't know, living for the weekend only, when like actually life is so short. Like I posted an Instagram reel the other day of this Eddie Murphy audio from, I don't know which film it's from, but it's from a film, and he's basically saying like, if you're lucky, you have 75 years. So that's 75 summers, 75 winters, 75 autumns, 75 springs. And like when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is exactly the point. Like this is so true. Before you know it, you're in your mid-30s or you suddenly hit your 50s and you think, oh my God, all I've done is work my whole life.
Yeah.
And it's not about not working, but for me, I just think like what I like to help people realize is like you can work on things that you love and still live a very exciting and fulfilling life, however that looks for you. Because for some people, it might not be travel. It might be spending more time with family or having more time to just do hobbies that you enjoy or anything like that. So it doesn't have to be digital nomading, but it's more about just building a life that works for you rather than working for your life.
To be honest, I can totally relate to what you're saying because there's some points in my life where I've gone like months and I'm just like, wait, what have I accomplished? Like, I mean, I've done my job, like my 9 to 5, but it's always going to be there. Like, I mean, I'm always going to wake up in the morning and then do a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But what else am I doing with my life, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just like, it feels almost, I don't say soulless or purposeless,
Yeah.
because I read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah.
when I was a bit younger. When you're working for someone else, it's like you're helping them pursue their own dreams.
Yes.
And then the salary they give is like the price to pay
Yeah.
for you to forget your own dreams.
Sacrificing your own dreams.
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
every time, that's always something that's stuck at the back of my mind. Like, I don't want to be in the trap of like doing a 9 to 5 forever, because at the end of the day, it's someone else's vision
Yeah.
I'm fulfilling. Like, yes, you want to have a nice career and have some income, but that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as well I've always try and like remember that some people want a 9 to 5. So like that also could be some people's goal, because they like the job security, they like the financial security of having a 9 to 5, and obviously the additional benefits you get, like holiday pay, sick pay, you might get like private health insurance and things like that. So like I do get it, but I think for me it's more just like making sure that you've got that balance, and you're not just working a job that's burning you out and then you have no time or energy to then do the things you love, because life is too short.
Now that you've mentioned security, like you mentioned financial security, what was the other one? Basically security in
Yeah,
general.
like job security.
Job security.
Yeah.
That is one of the things I was even wondering, because if I'm going to, let's use me for example. I work in 9 to 5. If I decide today that I want to see more of the world, how do I do that? Because I know you're saying we shouldn't stop working to be able to travel, but for some people that might not be physically possible. Is there a mindset that you have to get into to be able to travel more?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question, because for me, obviously, travel has always been my like number one thing in life that I love doing.
Yeah.
And when I was working a 9 to 5, because I did work in a 9 to 5 for about 10 years, I still traveled as much as I could, and I would go abroad like at least 5 or 6 times a year. And my siblings would always say to me, how are you going abroad so much? And I just used to say to them, like, this is my priority. Like, I don't buy clothes that I don't need, and like I don't have like a flashy car, or I don't have, you know, my younger sister would get like her eyelashes done every month and her hair done every month, and that's like hundreds. And for me, I would look at that money and think, that's a flight to Thailand. I'd rather spend it on that than, you know, spending it on others. So I think there's definitely a mindset shift about what your priorities are, and like not necessarily getting better with money, because money's such a broad topic, and like obviously some people don't earn as much as others, or some people do have families to support, and or even parents to support and things like that. So it's not necessarily about having more money, but I think it's just making sure that you do prioritize what you're spending your time and your energy and your money on, and just focusing on truly like what you want to do with your own life.
You know, the funny thing, when you mentioned it, I realized how much money we spend on what might not be necessary. And then, because I look at the life of some of my friends and I see them on Instagram and they've gone to Cancun, or they've gone to one Caribbean country or something. And I'm like, how do you do this? Because we probably earn like around the same amount, or roughly give or take a few thousands here and there. But then I'm like, how are you accomplishing this? Because there must be something I'm using my money to do that you're not doing. And then when you mention like a flashy car or something like that, I'm just like, okay, maybe that's part of where some of my money is going into. Because when I think about car payments, you have to pay insurance and all of that, parking and everything.
There's a lot,
It actually adds up.
Yeah, and honestly, getting rid of my car was the best thing I did. Like when I moved to London, which was back in 2020, I knew I wasn't going to take a car to London because you have to pay a £25 a day congestion fee charge. Now they've just introduced a £12 a day fee for the like ULEZ zone, which is all like designed to help the environment. But I just thought, I'm living in a city that has really good connections, public transport anyway. I'm rarely going to use my car. So honestly, getting rid of that was just, it saved me so much money every month that I was then like, oh wow, I could pop over to Spain for the weekend. And obviously living in Europe, you also have that huge benefit of being so close to so many countries and being able to fly. I think the cheapest flight I've ever gotten was £20 return, which is about 40 Canadian, and that was to Denmark.
So I find it interesting because I feel like traveling in Europe is very different from traveling here in North America, especially Canada, because I feel like back when I was in uni, I'll hear of friends going to Paris and like it was, I've forgotten, did they use the train or how did they go
Yeah,
again?
maybe the
Yeah,
Eurostar.
yeah, it was very, like, Europe is kind of like, I don't say smaller, but in a sense, like, much more interconnected, like, the
Yes.
network is good.
Definitely.
Over here, our transportation system is not really the best. I don't even think traveling by train is an option because it's almost as expensive as taking a
Yeah.
flight. And then I realized that in my time that I've been here in Canada, traveling down into the US is cheaper than traveling across Canada. And I'm just like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I guess if you put enough planning behind it, because I've traveled once this year already, and I've learned that you can have ways where you set up your banking, where you can have separate accounts, like depending on the bank service
Yeah.
provider you're using. But what I do now is like I create a separate account where I put in some money for traveling because I have another trip coming up.
Yeah.
But most of my travel I find is more for, I don't call it for a reason. I really find myself just taking an actual vacation.
Yeah.
It's more for like, oh, I'm going for a wedding,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
I'm going to go support something that's starting over here. So how do you get, because I don't know if it's just an innate thing whereby you're either passionate for traveling for like the pleasure of it. How do you get into that setting? Like, is it either you're born with it or is it I mean, I know I've said mindset a few times already, but is it a mindset also?
Maybe, yeah. I guess the same way that like some people love sports or some
Yeah.
people love, I don't know, dancing or cooking. Like I don't enjoy cooking at all,
Yeah.
but I love traveling. But then I know people that love cooking. My brother, for example, my younger brother, he just is not interested in traveling at all. And I find that so crazy because I'm like, how could you not? But he just doesn't go away. Like he's just not bothered to. And the amount of times I've been like, oh, you should come visit me in Indonesia or you should come visit me in Australia. And he's like, no, it's okay.
He's all right.
Yeah, he's like, I'm fine. So I think it is just like personal preference. And I do think as well, it's like once you do something out of your comfort zone and like for the first time, sometimes you do just realize like, wow, there is a whole world out there that like I haven't seen. And I love going to countries that are so different from home. Like one of my favorite corners of the world is Asia, just because it's so different to anything I grew up with. And I haven't been to South America yet, but I imagine that would be the same as well. And just seeing like how different people live, and like one thing I love about Asia is the people there are so happy and so friendly, but they're just happy with what they've got. Like they're not like constantly striving for more, like trying to impress other people.
Yeah.
Like they're just happy with what they've got and making the most out of their life. And that's also kind of what I'm like trying to inspire people to do, is like you don't have to travel the world or you don't have to live remotely, but it's just loving what you've got and waking up every day and feeling fulfilled with your life, and then getting to 70 or 80 or 90 and thinking, oh, I'm so glad I did all of that. Like, there's not one thing that I regret not doing.
In all your travels, I mean, I know you mentioned a few places you haven't been, but I'm just curious, have you been to Africa at any point in time?
No. So, well, I've been to Morocco and I've been to Egypt. So I've only been to a couple of countries in Northern Africa. But so I recently went to Korea. And when I was in Korea, I went to the border with North Korea. And when I was there, I was like, I really want to start going to countries that like aren't the typical popular holiday destinations. So I've now made a list of countries that over the next few years I want to get to, and there's a few African countries on there. I really want to get to Namibia especially as well. Do you know what? Everyone does say that. It's an amazing country.
I think the best time to go to Nigeria is around December because we have a lot of concerts and events going on. There's like a whole bubble economy that goes on during that period, so it should be fun. I don't think you have anybody there, but it's also nice if you know some people there to make it easier. You mentioned something interesting about being on the border between North Korea and South Korea. Is that like an intense place to be? Because I know there's a lot of rivalry going on between those two countries. So
it's really interesting. So the area that you go to, because at the moment you can't cross into North Korea, they've closed their borders, but basically between South Korea and North Korea there's a 4-kilometer like buffer zone where there's no military, because they can't have both their military like directly on the border because it would cause more tensions. So there's just this like strip of 4-kilometer land, so 2 kilometers on the South Korea side, 2 kilometers on the North Korea side, that's just like fields and peaceful. And it's so strange. But yeah, you basically go there and you go to like this observation deck and you can see into North Korea. And it was just wild. When I was sat there, I just think, people actually pay to come and look at a country, and it's not visit because they can't just go there.
Yeah.
And like, there's not really any other country like that. Like, there's countries that maybe are a bit more difficult to travel to, but not as impossible as
To get in.
North Korea. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I really want to go there. So
Yeah, I mean, there's some places that I'm not sure I want to go to because I'm just like the situations you guys have going on over there is like, I mean, I don't travel a lot. Maybe that shouldn't be part of my first few experiences.
yeah.
But yeah, okay. So I wanted to also talk about hustle culture. What does that mean to you? Because, well, okay, I'll say what it means to me first, because I feel like a lot of people are more focused on money and how much they can get. And you were talking about cultures, which I found very interesting because you mentioned how in Asia you find that they are very much content with their life. And I feel like over here in North America, and I guess in a capitalist society, I guess like a lot of Europe too is like that. And the funny part is that a lot of Africa, well, the major cities like where I spent most of my time in Lagos, Nigeria, a lot of people are more focused on like, how can I get money? How can I get a lot of money? Not just money, like a lot of money. And they're not thinking about their long-term health.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about family as much. Like, how can people strike that balance?
Yeah.
And then also, what does hustle culture mean to you?
Yeah. So I feel like it's really, there's always a level of like privilege as well when it comes to talking about money and like obviously the, you know, the circumstances that you've grown up in or were born into. So that's obviously like a first disclaimer there that I'm obviously a very privileged person to have been born in the UK and things like that. But I think the other element of that is just the way that we are brought up in Western society is, you know, the goal is great job, good car, and big house. And like, we are just fed that information from such a young age. And like, even thinking about like my nieces and nephews that are now growing up in a society where social media rules their life. Whereas when I was growing up and I was a teenager, there was hardly any social media. Like, you maybe had MySpace, but that would be it. They're now growing up in this environment where they're constantly comparing their lives to other people because that's what they're seeing every day on their Instagram feeds or their TikTok feeds, or they're growing up watching shows like Keeping Up with the Kardashians where it's like extreme wealth, you know, like, and all these things that other people have that it like naturally you're going to aspire to that. And when you're younger, you're so much more impressionable and you want to be popular and you want people to like you, and you would naturally think this is what you need in order to have those, like, you know, be liked and be popular. So I think there's definitely an element of like just growing up in a Western society and being taught that that is what you need. And I think it does come with age when you start to realise actually what's important to you. Like for me, turning 30 was the best year of my life. Like I feel like loads of people are scared to turn 30 because they're like, oh my God,
I'm on the edge of that right now.
I'm getting old. But turning 30 was the best moment of my life. Like I just don't care anymore what other people think of me. Not in like an arrogant way, in like it's so freeing that you're like, actually, I don't want to go out with this group of friends and do these things, or like, not that I don't want to be friends with them, but like, I'm tired, I actually just want to stay in tonight, I want to do my own thing. Or my friends have invited me to go on holiday here, but like, I don't really want to spend my money on that, so like, actually I'm okay with sitting this one out. Whereas I think like in your 20s you're like constantly keeping up with,
there's more pressure to like be
for sure. So I do think that like with that, coming back to like hustle culture and things like that, there's definitely an opportunity later in your life to like slow down and like reevaluate like what actually is important to you. And some people get there at a much younger age. I think like some people are hungry for freedom, or like whether that's like work freedom, time freedom, or they've always prioritized family over work as well. Like some people are just like that. But I think a lot of it is what we're fed in society, and even what we're taught. Like the school that I went to, it was very much you go to university and you study and then you get a job and then you get married and then you have kids and that's it. Like that's just the path of life. And when I was 18, I actually didn't go to university straight away because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And like, I was so envious of people that knew they wanted to be a nurse or knew they wanted to be a lawyer and knew they wanted to be a teacher. And I think outside of those like standard jobs, like no one sat you down and said, oh, well, actually you could be a project manager, or have you thought about going into web development and stuff like no one really takes the time to ask you what you want to do. It's more just like the expected, like it's like an unspoken expectation that like this is the path you will follow. Yeah.
I get that, because I feel like a lot of parents are like looking for the safest path to security for their kids, and they're like, you know what, in our time we've seen that this is the tried and trusted method. If you get into medicine, if you get into law, the odds are you'll be very alright in life. And that's just what I mean. I think it comes from a place of love, but then they are working from like an old world point of view on how to live your life. So you mentioned a few things about hustle culture, and the other thing I wanted to add to that is like I really appreciate you talking about the part of where you turn 30, because I'm on the brink of turning 30, and I've realized that the closer I've gotten to 30, there's this nervous energy when I get into a state of like, oh my god, what am I doing with my life and all of this. And then at one point in my mind I was telling myself like, I can't wait, because it's coming up in a few months, and I was like, I can't wait for it, because I feel like after that I'm just going to stop caring about my age. I'm just going to be like, oh yeah, I'm 30, that's it, it's here and it's done. And I feel like now I'm trying to chase more things that create value. I mean, I've done the whole 9 to 5 for at least 8+ years. So I'm not going to stop, but like I'm looking for more things to do on the side that actually bring value to not just my life, but to other people's life. So I'm just saying this out for anybody else that's turning 30 soon. Don't worry, you're not alone, YB Club, and everyone will eventually get there. So
and it's great once you get here. The 30s club is, and also people say that your 40s is even better. So I'm now like, bring it on. I can't wait.
That sounds good. Because like the whole part of like not even wanting to go out, I actually totally get that. Because sometimes it's like, do I really want to go downtown? Like I can just stay at home and do something else.
And that's the other thing when it comes back to like finance. You think, oh, I'm going to spend, $20 on an Uber, $40 at least on having drinks, or maybe dinner out or something is going to be even more. And then you think like, I do want to, like, I value these friends and I want to spend time with them, but not doing that because like that doesn't bring me joy anymore. I'd rather like go for a coffee with them in the morning, or go hang out in the park, or like go to the gym, or go play football, or whatever it might be. Like there's so many other ways. I don't play football.
Oh, okay, I was about to ask that. That was the next question I was about to ask. But when you say football, you mean like proper football?
So I think you guys maybe call it soccer.
I mean, over here they call it soccer. Like, I mean, yes, we call it soccer, but I still stubbornly call it football. Because where I grew up from, and then I also spent some time in the UK. Like, I know it as football, so I just wanted to be sure that we're on the same page.
Yes.
Well, that's good.
Proper European football.
Yes, I mean that's every time I hear them say football, I'm like, you're using your hand 90% of the time. There is nothing with your foot. Like, anyway, but let me not get attacked because of this. But I think we've spoken about a few things. But just to wrap us up, I was wondering, do you have any parting advice for anyone, like maybe a young guy that's trying to start his photography business, or the young lady out there that is trying to start her will I call it an influencing career? Maybe not a modeling career, but like she's on social media trying to build a brand. Like, what advice would you be giving them, like going into freelancing? And I mean, I guess like from freelancing is just a short step to creating your own business.
For sure. It essentially is a business. It's
a business.
A different legal setup, really. I've got a few bits of advice. The first one, which I felt like I learned so much when I first started, and I definitely had to grow as a person, but the sooner you start, the more you'll learn. Like you're never going to be ready, and I feel like people put off doing things so much because they think I don't know enough yet, or like I haven't got enough experience yet. The best thing to do is just to start, because it will evolve so much as you go anyway. You'll realise, oh, actually I could do this better, or I don't actually enjoy that part, so I'm not going to do that anymore. And it is obviously easier said than done to be like, just start. But that is the best part of advice. And you don't have to jump all in. Like, you don't have to wake up tomorrow and quit your job and go and start. Like, you can slowly build it up. Like, when I first started freelancing, I actually was doing it alongside my 9 to 5 because I didn't want the risk of, I mean, I was living in London. It's a very expensive city to live in. And I thought, I can't afford to just give up my job and try. I was kind of like picking up a few clients along the side that was maybe only like up to 5 hours a week, so I could still manage to do it alongside my full-time job at the time, but it allowed me to build up a portfolio, get some like clients on board, get some testimonials, and also like just dip my toe into like how it would work and how I needed to manage certain things. So I think starting slow kind of feeds back into this hustle culture. Like, you don't need to quit your job. You don't need to be getting up at 5 a.m. every day to like join the 5 a.m. club and do 4 hours of work before your 9 to 5. Like, you don't need to do that. And if you do that, it's just going to burn you out, and you're then not going to have the long-term momentum. Or it actually might put you off freelancing, and you might think, oh, this is too much work. I'm just going to go back to my 9 to 5. So I think, just figure out like the type of life that you want. Like, if you woke up in the morning, what would your dream day look like? Realistically, because we do have to work. There are always bills to pay. So work is always going to be an element of that. But like, if you woke up in the morning, how would you spend that day feeling fulfilled, enjoying what you do, bringing value to people, and obviously earning a living at the same time? And then I think on the other side, another thing that a lot of people deal with, have to deal with and overcome, which is one thing that I definitely did, is like fear of being seen and fear of being judged. It's really, really hard to put yourself out there and open yourself up for criticism, or open yourself up for people. Like, some people will judge you because they're just judgmental people. But one thing that, I don't know if this is like the exact quote is, but I read it a little while ago, and it was basically saying that, and I can't remember who said it either, so apologies, but I'm just going to paraphrase it. But basically they were saying that like they've never been judged or slated by someone who is doing better than them.
Wow.
Because people that are doing well and are content and are happy, they're not judging people. If anything, they're like cheering them on. They're like, yes, I love that you're doing this for yourself. It's going to be a tough journey. I'm here if you need any advice.
That's actually very profound, because when I think about it, like the people that are technically doing better than you, usually they even want to help out, because when they see you making a mistake, they're like, oh, I've been there, I've done this. I was like, oh, no, don't do it like that. Hard it was. Or they're even maybe too busy to even be looking or noticing in the first place. It's usually people that are like, so I really agree with the part where you said the fear of being seen. Because that was one challenge I faced when I was starting this, because I mean, I'm not the most extroverted person out there. So when I was starting, I was like, oh my God, people that know me are going to be saying all of this online. And then I was like, okay, let me hide it to the side a bit. I still wanted to do it, but I had that phase whereby I didn't even want to repost like my own page. Like, I'll post it on a separate page and then I'll just leave it there. But then I learned, like, I forgot who mentioned it to me, that your biggest fan has to be you.
100%. No one else is ever going to have your back like you do.
Exactly.
And if you don't back yourself, how could you expect other people to back you?
Exactly. People want to believe in something when they see the person believing in it. Like, if you don't believe in your own vision, like, no one is going to believe in it for you. So it has to start from an internal drive of yourself, believing that, okay, I believe in this and I'm going to put it out there because I know I'm going to provide some value or do something useful for people. I'll just give a bit of my own advice, because for me, I mean, I haven't had the wealth of experience you've had, but I've been working in the corporate, well, not corporate, 9 to 5 for 8+ years, and I found that the most fulfilling part of life is when you're doing something purposeful and something that brings more value to you long term. So for me, like, I'm big on my own faith, so that's a part for me that drives me also. So it's something like that's external to everything else that I'm doing. It's more of like, this is part of what I live for. In fact, this is what I live for. So I feel like people need to have like an overriding thing that they kind of believe in, or that they strive for, that they work towards. That's also give you like a reason to wake up in the morning. And if you're fulfilling that purpose, or if you feel like you're fulfilling that purpose, like we're talking about being on your deathbed kind of thing, at the end of your life, it's more about that purpose that you feel like you were fulfilling rather than the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So for some people, like, you might have a drive to have a good family or just something else like that.
Exactly.
And culture or society might be pushing you more to like, oh, you must climb the corporate ladder. And I feel like people are just going on the I say rat race. It'd be nice if it was a rabbit race, but it's a rat race. And then you find yourself trapped for over 40 plus years of your life. And then you're 60 and you still haven't paid off your mortgage like you're still in there. So it's just like, what did I do all of this for, right?
For sure.
So that's just it for me. I'm going to allow us to do some shameless plugs before we end.
That's very kind of you.
Of course.
So, if you're interested in learning how to start a business or to start freelancing, my website is lunabizsolutions.com. And I'm trying, at the moment, I'm in the process of building out a load of free stuff as well.
Yeah.
So like guides and whatever. You can get that all on there. And then my Instagram and YouTube, so I do a bit of travel vlogging and behind the scenes, is at lawwingingit.
So, you already have my own social media handle, so I'm not going to drop anything. So guys, thank you so much. If you've reached this part of the video, I just want to say a big thank you. I always appreciate it when you like the videos. Please hit the notification bell, subscribe. I beg. I've been begging you guys for months now. Please subscribe. And one other thing that you can do that helps the channel a lot is when you share it. So on Instagram, share the videos. YouTube, share the videos. If you've learned anything, type it down in the comments. Interact with me. I want to talk to you guys. Come on. So thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys for joining us on this episode. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.